All right, so good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for being here for our top 10 wellness tips. My name is Danny Arguetti, and I work for the Recreation Department. I manage our yoga and meditation programs, and so excited, as always, to be collaborating with the whole you today. Just so you know, there will be time for questions at the end. So feel free to take notes at any time for anything that comes up for you around these topics. And I will also be sharing the slides with all of you after. And final thing is that if you see me looking down, I have my other device here for my notes. So just so you know, that is happening as well. So let's start out just by arriving into the space, depending on where you have been already this morning. So whether you're seated or standing, take a moment just to ground and arrive with your feet hip distance apart, arms relaxed by the side of your body. If you're in a chair, opportunity to take a break from that or create a little bit of space between your back and the back of your chair. So low back and abdominals are engaged a little bit more. And from there, take a deep, deep, full breath in through your nose or mouth. Exhale it out, optional sound or sigh. From there, check in with your physical body if you need to make any little movements in your shoulders, head, neck, mouth, jaw, fingers, wrists. Go ahead and do that just to release any little tension. And again here, take a deep, deep, full breath through nose or mouth. With the exhalation, let go of any mental holding that you have accumulated. One more cycle here. Deep, full, deep breath in through nose or mouth. Exhale it out to let it go. And from there, if your eyes have softened, feel free to return them back into the space. All right, so we are going to explore these top 10 tips that some of them are things that you may have already heard about and have explored in your life. And really the invitation is to think about the way that you can put this into action, and we'll talk about it at the end. But I want to start off with this piece of it's easy to read articles, to go to presentations, to get this information. But the key is, how do you actually weave them into the day-to-day rituals of your life? I find that for me, that's often the challenge. So this is where we can start small and slow and see what resonates and run experiments with that. So if you've ever done anything with me, you've seen this before, but this is where I like to always start, is just the idea of inquiry. And it is this invitation to not believe anything I tell you, really gather data and run experiments so you can create buy-in from your own personal experience. And sometimes that requires trying on something new. It's like, it's like wearing a new sweater. And sometimes it can be prickly and itchy at first, but then we get used to it. But sometimes the conclusion is, no, I actually don't need to be wearing this. So move on and try something else. But particularly if there are new things, welcome discomfort, embrace the unfamiliar, and just see what happens, gather that data. Recognize how a 1 degree shift can change everything. So this is just a reminder that particularly if you're feeling in a place where you're wanting more of a reboot in your life, you don't have to tear down the foundation. So often just one little shift can actually make a whole lot of difference in the way that you feel physically, emotionally, psychologically as well. And then final thing is that just when you're taking inventory of running these experiments, instead of, like thinking, oh, this breath was good for me, this breath was bad for me. It's more of the inquiry of, was this practice giving me energy, vitality, life, wellness, or was it depleting me in that? And that can change all the time. So this is where you might be doing a practice for a long time, but then all of a sudden it just stops working. And this is where it's like, okay, let's try something new. Whereas there's some practices that can be lifelong practices that it can shift. So just remembering to engage with all this stuff from a place of inquiry. Okay, so let's look at these top 10 tips. These are my top 10 tips. Let's dive in. So the first one is called the Hummingbird Breath. It is one of my favorite yogic breaths that's not often talked about in regular classes or just in general. And I'll talk about the technique in a moment, but basically this breath can provide some space in the mind, release cerebral tension if you're caught up in overthinking, and it can soothe the nerves, relieve stress and anxiety, dissipate anger, and can lower blood pressure as well. So basically the breath can work in various ways. The main technique is that, and don't do this yet because you won't be able to hear me well. The main technique is to plug the ears with your thumbs. What you're seeing in the picture, there is an additional placement of the fingers that you could play with. And it's actually, there's not one way to do it. So you can place the fingers in various areas. But really, I'm not an expert on acupuncture, but there are pressure points in the face. So that's part of the intention of the finger placement. But again, you can just have the fingers on the head and the thumbs plugged in. So again, don't do this yet, but when we're gonna experience this, and basically when you do plug your ears, it's gonna be an inhale, and then it's an internal hum. Sometimes the tongue rises up to the roof of the mouth naturally, or you might find that that's actually a nice placement for your tongue as well. So it sounds like this. So that's a brief preview. We'll do it again, but it's just a hum. And when you have your ears plugged, it's kind of like similar to putting a shell at your ear. So it amplifies it and it creates a vibration internally, which can be kind of fun. So let's take a moment to play with this. We'll do 2 rounds. So if you're wearing like earbuds like I have on, just take them off for a moment as we do this, and then we'll dive back in. So whether you're placing fingers on your face, or you can play with a few points here as well, plug your ears with both of your thumbs. Take a deep, deep, full breath in. Exhale it out. Again, deep, full breath in, second round. Once you have completed your second round, release your hands and take a moment just to absorb and observe anything that you notice there. And then gradually reawaken if your eyes have softened. So again, something to play with here with this breath. I find that also because of the sounding piece, sometimes that really helps me release a lot of tension as well if I'm a little bit more amped up. So things you can play with. And again, if you have any questions on this, save them so we can talk about it after. Okay, so journaling is something as well to explore. And this is probably not new for some of you. But again, lots of science behind just the benefit of actually writing things down. And there's so many different ways we can journal. So of course, stream of consciousness is just a download whatever's going on for you. There's gratitude journaling, and then there's more specific prompts. And these are some questions that you can explore as well. So things like, how do you describe love? What is your favorite time of year? When do you feel most alive? What are you doing when you feel most alive? What do you resist in life and why? So these are more specific questions that if you're looking for just something to churn up and to get things going. Let's see if I can do this real quick. I want to share with you in the chat some additional questions that you could play with. Let's see if this works. One moment. Oh, it did not work. Okay, let me stop my share just for a brief moment so I can get you those other questions. These are a lot, but this is, of course, you can look at this at a later time, but I just love some of these questions. It is not working. Come on. One more time, let's try it. Nope, not working. Okay, I will, when I send you the follow-up email with the slides, I will send those additional questions as well, so you can see those. But there's things like how fulfilling is your relationships? What are you afraid of? Describe freedom. There's lots of things. If you're feeling stagnant, sometimes just journaling on some of those things can help to just get you moving a little bit and get you more introspective about things as well. Okay, so let's look at our next one, and this is legs up the wall, chair or blocks. There's lots of options here. So this is one of my favorite supported yoga postures. So the key is, if you're doing it up against the wall, you actually don't need to be perpendicular 90 degrees. Like I have tighter hamstrings, so I actually move myself further away from the wall and bend my knees. So the benefit of this, it's an inverted pose, it stimulates the lymph, it gives the heart a break, it shifts the body into parasympathetic nervous system. It's really one of my all-time highly recommended. As human beings, particularly in the modern Western world, or just world in general, we don't tend to flip upside down very often. We're not stimulating the lymph very often. And the lymph is so important for overall health and vitality. So just 10 minutes with this, cover your eyes, put some relaxing music on. I always feel like, I don't actually have a lot of caffeine just because it gets me too amped up, but it's a huge jolt of energy. And this is where you can put your legs up a chair. You can also, the legs can be bent like this on a chair as well. So it doesn't even have to be straight up, but you could use the back of a chair to have the legs straight up as well. So a couple of tips, as I mentioned, cover the eyes, putting a gentle timer on so you're not concerned about time, nice music. And then the yoga tie, as you can see in the image, this is a great supportive use for the chest in women. And then for the tie can also be wrapped around your legs. Sometimes the legs will start to open up as you relax more. So that can be a nice support there. And then if you have a yoga block, this is in the picture demonstrated as supported shoulder stand. So, so those are some pieces there. Again, super phenomenal posture there that if you've never tried it, highly recommend it. Okay, number 7, standing twist. So again, if you've ever done anything with me, I love twisting. I'm obsessed with movement of the spine in general. The twists are really amazing. So go ahead and do this as I keep talking about the twists. Give yourself some time to actually get into your body and do a few of these twists. You can always just have the hands on top of your torso if you don't have room for your limbs to move around. But the standing twists are really supportive of the nervous system. They move us in a way that we often don't move throughout the day. And they strengthen the synchronization of the brain. So this is particularly helpful for young kids in brain development, but I think it's also good for adults, is that when we cross the midline of the body, it fires the brain in different ways. Basically, it can reduce impulsivity, and it actually supports to reduce hyperactive behavior, and it can boost attention and concentration. And it just involves the limbs having to cross the midline. That signals from one side of the brain to the other side is what we're working with as the benefit of this. So again, standing twist, super, super amazing. Okay, number 6 in our top 10 list is green smoothies. So I find that vegetables in general we used to consume a lot more, and so smoothie is a great way to do this. If you don't like cold smoothies, no worries. I tend to put like hot water in my frozen berries. Some people find it gross, but it just creates a room temperature smoothie. And it's a great way to get greens in because you're combining it with the other things that are naturally sweet. And yeah, so this is just one example. When I send you the email, I'll also link to the Minimalist Baker, who this video is from. She has really clean and short videos, which I like. And this is just one example, one template that you can work in. There's going to be music with this. It might be loud on your end, so get ready to adjust it if you need to. Come on. Oops, where are you? This worked the other day. So again, super simple, and this is where you can rotate the greens into something else. If you don't have almond milk, no worries. You just throw in hazelnuts, almonds, and with the water that creates the milk. So you don't even buy pre-made milk. I would use a lot more flax seeds than what was shown there. Super amazing for omega-3s and fiber. So smoothies, again, just unbelievable tip to just get you healthy and moving and just get everything functioning better in the body. You can throw in also cinnamon or turmeric, other amazing potent spices in there, and herbs. I sometimes will put cilantro in my smoothies, so I can go on, but we'll stop. Number 5, so set a boundary with technology. This is so much easier said than done. So these are just some ideas: turning off push notifications, enable just the number banners. This is from an iPhone universe. I just have that on my phone where I just see the little red thing that I know I need to attend to it at one point, but I can do it at my own when I choose to. I have some apps myself that I limit the time on, so they shut off, even though it's easy to turn off, but still that shutting off helps me moderate that. And taking whole day breaks of just getting off tech, getting off TV, just being out in nature. I was just away visiting my best friend, and our whole time together we basically just hiked and ate. And I stayed off of technology for a few days, and it was really rejuvenating in that way. So just thinking about news, email, phone, TV, and this is the final piece, right? We can talk about this all day long. So it's nice to say, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have a boundary with my tech, but really stop saying that you'll do this and actually do it. Make a commitment to create more boundary, because it's so seductive. It's so easy to just get trapped in it. So our number 5, top 10 tips. Okay, let's go to number 4. I think you know this, but nature is phenomenal. So This is, just so you know, this data is based off of evidence that was gathered from 140 studies involving 290 million people, and the research team studied data from 20 different countries, which I really like. So showing us that humans respond to this in a very consistent way. So reducing the risk of all of these things. And again, this is probably not new news for you, but just making time for getting out in nature, however that works for you in your life. So do it. Okay, number 3, express yourself. So this is where human beings, we need some sort of expression, and sometimes people associate this just with work, but it doesn't have to be your work. Some people, it is their work, but not everyone. So this is the piece, right? You know, if you take inventory of your life and you're like, yeah, I feel really stagnant, depleted, not really thriving, not expressive. So how do you express yourself? That might be by drawing, writing, running, singing, knitting, you know, sculpt, dance, build something with your hands. This is a very short list of how people express themselves, but finding some sort of outlet for that. In positive psychology, they talk about these states of flow when we're doing things that we really love, and we just lose track of time, right? So so notice what are those things that light you up in that way, and explore that. Find a way to engage with that. Okay, so number 2 on our list is attitude of gratitude. Again, you may have heard about this before, but opportunity, just as a reminder, gratitude is so potent. So let's take a look.
Do you want to be happier, healthier, and an all-around better person? There's a way that is free, easy, and totally up to you. It's gratitude. Gratitude is much more than saying thanks. It's a way of seeing the world. And with practice, we can train ourselves to feel gratitude more frequently and powerfully. The scientific evidence is clear. Practicing gratitude is good for you and your loved ones. Grateful people get sick less, have healthier hearts, exercise more, get better sleep. Grateful people are more optimistic, overcome adversity better, find greater joy in life. Grateful people are more generous with their time and money, are more forgiving, and build better relationships with loved ones. Just like strengthening muscles, you can build gratitude simply by exercising it. So, how do you develop an attitude of gratitude? Take the first step now. Write a letter to someone you know and tell them why you are grateful for them. Or think about the blessings you may take for granted. Or start a gratitude journal at elementofgratitude.org and get serious about becoming more grateful. Thanks for.
All right, so just a little bit of thoughts on gratitude, and again, as simple as just writing a few things in a journal can really start to shift the mental landscape. Okay, let's look at our number 1 from our top 10 list. So this is kind of a trick. So I took number 1 and I made it into lots of little factors. But it is this guidance from what's called the blue zones. So if you've ever heard of that, these are areas in the world where people live the longest. And so there's 3 focused here, but they're, in addition to these 3 in Japan and the US and Italy, they also looked at a place in Greece and Costa Rica. So you can see where they cross-pollinate with each other of the things that really increase longevity, like family and social connections, not smoking, plant-heavy diet. The activity, interestingly enough, was just throughout the day. Walking upstairs, walking into town, riding the bike, doing chores outside, doing chores inside, cleaning. So it wasn't actually like, I'm a fan of any sort of movement. So don't give up your like yoga classes or fitness classes and so forth. But the key is, how do you keep yourself moving throughout the day, taking breaks from sitting, picking things up during the day, finding ways to engage that way. So diet-wise, again, mostly plant-based, lots of healthy fiber foods like legumes, and then sunshine gardening, so many things. So you can check out this bluezoneproject.com, and I'll include that in the link as well. This is where, and you'll see some of this ties to what we talked about earlier, like know your purpose, so how you're expressing yourself, taking down time for relaxation through like some of those movements or like the pool, and so forth. So yeah, keeping these in mind as overall guidance for all individuals, but this can be beneficial as a macro view of some habits to include. Okay, so let us complete where we began, just this idea that it is, this information is great, but the key is how do you actually weave it into your life? So think to yourself, even now, just based on what we talked about, or when you get the slides and review this, what is one inquiry, one little commitment that you want to make to yourself? Have it be clear and measurable. So it's not as useful to say like, oh yeah, I'll do legs up the wall next week sometime. So being clear of for the next 4 weeks, every week, 2 days out of the 2 days in every week, I'm going to do legs up the wall for 10 minutes. You can even be more specific, around 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So how clear can you be? Employing compassion for yourself and really using the power of behavioral change. So that means like sticky notes or reminders on your calendar. It takes time for new habits to really embed, about 3 months. Not the whole 21 days is a great start, but it really takes longer. But the good news is that if you're starting to build towards what's called 51%, that's what creates the neural pathways to really embed the habit. So it's like, slowly moving towards the majority of the time, that habit taking over. So like edging towards movement practice, let's say, 3.5, 4 days a week, that's going to help get that to be more of a regular thing. So honoring that process, but being clear and engaged in that. All right, so that was our top 10 wellness tips. Again, I'll follow up with an email with some resources, and I will be here for a few moments. I know there were some questions on the chat, so I'll answer them. But if you have any other questions, do let me know. And thanks so much for your attention, everyone, and for being here. Take care and enjoy the rest of your Friday and weekend.